What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Mondo Fantasy Football. This is the Week 8 Stardom Sit-em video. This week, I'm changing it up a little. If you watched my videos before, I make 3 separate videos. But this week, I'm going to do one video. It'll have all the positions, running back, quarterback, and wide receivers. Before we get started, my goal today is to, let's get 100 likes on this video, Hit the like button below. Let's get some more subscribers. Subscribe. Last week we had an awesome week. I gave great advice. With that being said, let's kick it off. Alex Smith and the Chiefs face off against the Broncos in a third-ranked pass defense. In his career versus the Broncos, which is 9 games, Smith has thrown 10 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. The numbers aren't good, so I would sit him in this matchup. The Panthers have a divisional game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are struggling defensively. They allow almost 300 yards per game in the air and allow an average of 25 points per game. In his career versus the Bucs, Cam Newton has thrown for 15 touchdowns and ran for 8 touchdowns, so he's a good start this week. Jacoby Brissett and the Colts are facing off against the Bengals this weekend, and the Bengals are pretty good defensively. Their pass defense is ranked second. Brissett has not been good this year. He's only thrown 3 touchdowns so far and a quarterback rating of 79.8. Sit him this week. Phillip Rivers and the Chargers face off against the Patriots this weekend. The Patriots have the last ranked pass defense in the league. They've allowed 15 touchdowns in the air, which is the worst in the NFL. Start Rivers in this matchup. The Buccaneers have a big divisional game against the Panthers, who are ranked 7th against the pass. The Panthers secondary has been pretty solid this year. In Winston's career, his stats against the Panthers are very bad. He has 4 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Sit him this week. Case Keenum and the Vikings go up against the Browns this weekend. And the Browns are another secondary that have struggled. They've given up 14 touchdowns in the air, and if Diggs is healthy, that's more weapons for Keenum, so start him this weekend. The Lions are facing off against the Steelers, who are the #1 ranked pass defense. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. They have forced 24 sacks so far this year, which is tied for best in the league. I would sit Stafford in this contest. I know Matt Ryan has been pretty bad this year, but this is the week he turns it around. He's going up against the Jets. They are tied with the Pats on giving up the most touchdowns in the air at 15. This is the bounce-back game for Ryan. He should be able to put up points. Start him this weekend. Alright, let's move on to the running backs. The first running back we're going to talk about is Carlos Hyde. Hyde is going up against the Eagles in their second-ranked rush defense. They've only allowed running backs an average of 67 yards per game. This is a tough matchup for Hyde, so sit him this week. Joe Mixon and the Bengals take on the Colts this weekend. The Colts defense is horrendous. They've allowed 10 touchdowns on the ground, which is most in the NFL. Mixon is getting most of the carries, so he should have a good game. Start him this week. Isaiah Crowell has been underperforming this whole year. On top of that, he's losing carries to Duke Johnson. So with that, in the matchup against Minnesota, who've only allowed 1 rushing touchdown all year, it's a bad mix. Sit Isaiah Crowell this weekend. Ajayi and the Dolphins face off against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. The Ravens are last in the league in rush defense and have allowed a league-high 145 yards per game on the ground. I would start Ajayi in this matchup. The Panthers have been solid defensively. They've only allowed rushers 3 yards per carry on the ground and 81 yards per game. On top of that, they've only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns all year. Sit Doug Martin. In the last couple of weeks, Dion Lewis is getting a majority of the carries out of the Patriots' backfield. The Chargers have allowed rushers 4.9 yards per carry and 140 yards per game on the ground. It's a great matchup for Lewis. Start him. Latavius Murray put up numbers last week. This week he goes up against the Browns, whose run defense is surprisingly good, allowing rushers only 3 yards per carry and under 90 yards per game. On top of that, Myles Garrett is back in the lineup, so it's a bad mix. Sit Latavius Murray this week. Jordan Howard has scored 4 rushing touchdowns so far this year, which is 4th best in the NFL. He's had 139 rush attempts, which is 3rd most in the NFL, and the Saints defense he faces allows almost 5 yards per carry. It's a good matchup for Jordan Howard, so start him this week. Let's move on to the wide receivers for this week. First up, we have Keenan Allen. The Chargers face off against the Patriots on Sunday, and he can take advantage of this secondary, who has allowed 15 touchdowns to receivers. Allen is the second most targeted in the NFL and should see plenty of opportunities. Start him this week. Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs have a Monday night game against the Broncos. The Broncos have been struggling as a team the last 2 weeks, but I expect them to turn it around. Even with their struggles, they are still ranked third against the pass, and expect their front four to get pressure on Smith. This is a bad matchup, so sit Hill. The Colts defense that Ajayi Green goes up against is ranked 31st in the league against the pass. They also allow an average of 300 yards per game to receivers. Green is putting up stats this year. He is in top 2 in receiving yards. This is a great matchup for him, so start him this week. T.Y. Hilton has a tough matchup against the Bengals, who are ranked second against the pass. The Colts haven't had much success, and with their new quarterback Brissett, his receivers haven't been on the same page. I would sit T.Y. Hilton this week. Adam Theilen has an awesome matchup against the Browns. The Browns secondary has allowed 14 touchdowns to receivers this year, which is second most. Theilen is ranked in top 5 in receptions and receiving yards. It's a great matchup for him. Start him this week. The Lions take on the Steelers this weekend on a Sunday night matchup. The Steelers have been solid in the secondary, ranked first against the pass. They have only allowed 6 touchdowns to receivers and 147 yards per game on average. Tate isn't 100% coming off the bye, so I would sit him this week. The Texans visit the Seahawks, and the Seahawks haven't been the same defense that we all know, but they're still getting the job done. They have only allowed 5 touchdowns to receivers, and playing in Seattle is a tough environment. I think they will fluster the young quarterback and force him into bad mistakes, so Hopkins will not get many looks. Sit him this weekend. The Bucs are struggling defensively this year. They were supposed to be a powerhouse on defense, but they aren't living up to the hype. They are ranked 26th in pass defense, which should benefit Benjamin. I would start him in this matchup. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate the support. Please subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment if you need some fantasy football advice. And let's get 100 likes on this page. Thanks a lot.